Politics, 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 still keeping quite a few investors on tenterfoot, despite Prime Minister Raila Odinga saying that he's confident that he and his partners can end a rift over corruption allegations in East Africa's biggest economy. Your view on what's playing out there?
Yes, we're encouraging our investors to look at these points of uncertainty to sort of get into the market, especially for the foreign investor, where they get the double benefit of the currency as well as the share price coming down. Obviously, political uncertainties are a concern for us. But if you look at the churn in the Kenyan parliament, the worst case scenario would be an election. But we know that most members of parliament wouldn't want to go into an election because the churn rate is about 50%. So on overall, we appear confident that these issues are going to be resolved. I think the worst in political uncertainty in Kenya was worst in 2008, on the basis of 2007 election. I think this will only be temporary and this will be sorted.
Well, certainly the market reacting slightly positive to that news yesterday, the market snapping back. To what extent, in your opinion, does this confirm the underlying bullish conditions and a sense that some of that political scenario that has been playing out has been a bit of a storm in a teacup?
We are seeing a lot of interest from buyers, although they're a bit cautious, and the sellers aren't really coming through as well as we would like. And so, on the basis of that, we're seeing volumes, thinning up quite a bit because we can't really match the demand and supply. Of course, buyers are there and they're targeting slightly lower prices, and the sellers, especially when positive sentiment starts creeping in, they sort of pull away and, look forward to improved prices. Obviously, going forward, we're also waiting for the earnings. We had East African breweries, Barclays Bank, Equity Bank, large caps basically releasing pretty solid results, probably except East African breweries. But as allocative plays, we've seen these counters holding on stably.
Holding on stably. I mean, weren't you expecting more in terms of share price reaction, especially out of Barclays and Equity yesterday, considering that they did post solid performances and also declared dividends, both those companies declaring dividends as well? Were you surprised by share price movement on those counters in yesterday's session?
Not really. I think maybe Barclays would have posted a small gain, but of course most of the earnings really came from a reduction in cost and also provisions. But looking forward into 2010, I think that's positive. Maybe we should have seen a slight increase, which was there, maybe not very substantial. Most people had factored in part of those earnings. For Equity Bank, I think the market would have been more comfortable with a higher level of provisioning, although just to give them credit, they actually did increase provisions quite substantially. East African Breweries is an allocative play in Kenya, and despite a reduction in earnings, we've seen the share price holding on quite well, in fact posting gains yesterday.
Looking at the gainer board, we had Mumias Sugar ranking there. I mean, this after it fell sharply on Wednesday. At that point, some out there was saying that the sugar backdrop is very supportive, and the drawdown that we saw on that share price on Wednesday was very overdone. Yesterday, that share price managing to gain 4.5%, highest on the gainer board. What's your view on Mumias at the moment?
We have a buy on Mumias. We have a target price of 13 shillings and 10 cents. Basically, we think there is a lot of scope in the sugar sector, especially with the ongoing government reforms and efforts by the government to privatize the other sugar millers. We think there's opportunity there for Mumias Sugar to actually benefit from the steps being undertaken, especially in ethanol production, electricity. And the company has generally started posting improvements. Mm-hmm. The last earnings, even though they were good, they were coming from a very low base. So on the full year, we still think there'll be a good performance, but nothing exceptional, that we haven't really factored into the price. And looking back at Mumias, it's really come up. It's hit lows of 6 shillings as late as the fourth quarter of last year. So most investors are feeling, paying 10 shillings as expensive. But if you look at the forward outlook, it's quite positive.
On that